Thanks for watching Numbskull News. And today, I'm going to talk about old Monty. I turned on YouTube, the YouTube machine, and of course the algorithm feeds you whatever. And wouldn't you know it, right on top was Monty. And this is when he was talking about Brett Yormark and the remarks he's made and all this stuff. Some of it was interesting and some of it made me laugh pretty good. So screw it. I'm doing a video on it. Let's go.
I believe Brett Yormark and the rest of the commissioners have a great relationship. There is this belief that there is, this adversarial kind of tone between the commissioners. We've told you that's not the case. We've told you that the TV partners, the commissioners, who are all essentially partners, because what's good for one is probably good for the other. And yesterday, Brett Yormark.
Hold on. Who's said anything about Brett Yormark and the commissioners being adversarial? That's not been news at all. He's like we've told you. It's always been, it's been put out there. He's got a really good relationship with these guys. Have they agreed on everything? I doubt it. But there's not been any kind of big news about how there's been some kind of adversarial relationship. So, what in the hell is he talking about?
For the most part, the SEC and the Big Ten dominate the college football playoff pretty much year in and year out. And so if you're Brett Yormark, you're sitting there saying, well, hold on a second. Instead of just continuing to expand the college football playoff and continuing to feed the beast that is the SEC and the Big Ten, why are we not talking about expanding the tournament and giving the Big 12 and, in my opinion, by extension, the ACC more opportunity? Because those are the two best basketball conferences in the country.
Yeah,
let's talk. Big East is in there in that conversation as well. But I actually agree with old Jake on that. That yeah, Brett Yormark wants more Big 12 teams. Yeah, and maybe I would push for some automatic qualifiers. I don't know. That's just me.
And I know, Big 12 fan, you always lose your shit when I bring this up, but
Uh-oh. Make sure I got some toilet paper around here. Okay. I got toilet paper. I got a chisel. Let's go.
The Big 12 is falling behind. That is, in my opinion, that is an opinion that is backed up by people we talk to in the industry. The Big 12 is at a very critical tipping point, and their only way to put the scales in their favor is through basketball. Because
now, some of this I agree with. The Big 12 is behind the SEC and the Big 10. There's no doubt. Monetarily speaking, yes. And they were always going to be, with the SEC and the Big 10 absorbing all of the blue bloods. That takes the kind of equality, if you want to call it that, from between the conferences, that erases that. All right, but even within conferences, it was never equal, because Texas and Oklahoma were always way more powerful than the TCUs and the Baylors, the Techs and the Oklahoma States, Iowa State, West Virginia. Those other schools didn't have much of a say. It was Texas and Oklahoma got everything they ever wanted. And it's like that everywhere. USC had a much bigger voice in the Pac-12 than everybody else. All right, in the Big Ten, it's about Ohio State, it's about Michigan, Penn State. That's about it.
Until they become a powerful football league, which I think this is one of the most critical years in the history of this conference's football product. Because unless and until Big 12 football becomes a leverage proposition for Brett Yormark, he is wholly relying on college basketball to be his lever, the lever he can pull.
Yes.
The leverage that he can play.
No. Basketball is a big part of it, but the leverage that he has is content. This is a big conference now. It's a 16-team conference. That's a lot of content. You do have leverage with that. That's content that ESPN and Fox can ill afford to lose. So there's cards there for the Big 12 to play. It's not dependent on Big 12 football becoming equals with the SEC. It's not dependent on that. But basketball is very important to what he's talking about. So in a way I agree, and in a way I don't.
That's it. He doesn't have a behemoth in college football any longer. He doesn't have Texas and Oklahoma. He doesn't have Nebraska and A&M. He doesn't have, well, I would say Missouri, but Dakota Tubbs would probably, stain his shorts. But my point is, he doesn't have.
Look, you don't need a huge brand. You have a lot of middle class brands, 16 of them. That provides you a lot of leverage. Now, can you leverage ESPN and Fox to pay you like they pay the SEC or Big Ten? No. But that is leverage for getting yet another deal after this next one and getting more money. Getting paid more. Perhaps getting closer to the Big Ten and SEC. Not catching them, but getting closer.
And you can mock and make fun of Deion Sanders at Colorado. How important is that program to this conference right now?
Mm-hmm.
How important is Kyle Whittingham at Utah?
Okay. The Colorado point, excellent point. Deion equals eyeballs. A lot of people have already started bitching about Colorado and Deion Sanders. Well, what have you done? And there's some points to that, but that program is drawing massive eyeballs. It's a top 5 school last year in the ratings. Insane. They're drawing blue blood ratings last year because of Deion. Now, he's got to start putting some wins together. You can't go 4-8 again. Let's make a bowl game. Let's do something. But he's right. That is really important. Utah gets solid ratings. They're not a juggernaut, but they get really solid ratings. So those ads are big time. I've been talking about that with the Big 12. People are poo-pooing the Big 12 and the ACC. Nah. We got programs now that can get real, tangible freaking ratings.
And I heard from a lot of our friends in Lubbock yesterday. This is one of the most important seasons in the history of Texas Tech football. Joey McGuire has to produce, and produce right now. They sold out their season tickets yesterday. If Texas Tech is a top 12 college football team, the Big 12 is cooking with gas. Now,
here's the thing about Monty. All right. I don't disagree with everything the man says. I don't think he's full of shit on everything. It's just, if the wind blows a different direction, there goes his opinion. But as far as right now, or, this video came out, I think, last week or whatever, like the end of last week before the weekend, he's 100% right about Texas Tech. They need to show up. They've had hype the last 2 seasons. Best recruiting class in the Big 12. Joey McGuire, exactly, needs to produce something on the field. Something needs to happen with Texas Tech. They need to vie for the conference title next year with a chance to go to the playoff. It's time for Texas Tech to step up. He's right. Is it all dependent on 1 year? No, but damn, they got to do something. They can't just, Texas Tech, they're a dark horse, or, hey, I'm picking them to, whatever. And then they underperform. I'm sorry. Next year, if they're 8 wins, that's underperforming for Texas Tech. It just is. 9, 10 plus, that's where they got to be. We need to see it. So, and a lot of this stuff he's going to talk about, and I've watched a lot of this before. But yeah, the Big 12 does need to step up. It does. But there is some bullshit he's going to say here. We'll get to it. Some of this I really am on board with when it comes to Monty. Next year is a very important year, but it's not just about next year. It's the next 4 years when that look-in comes in. When that comes into play, you got to have results, and then maybe you could change the percentage of the money that you get.
you're playing with one hand tied behind your back, right? I mean, you have to find a way to overcome, and again, that's going to come at the grassroots level, if you will. That's going to come on the football field, with your individual programs.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as the commissioner of a conference, there's not much else you can do about it. I mean, you can put your conference in position, but they still got to go out and perform. And I understand that, Brett Yormark is prolific with, TV partners and the media, and, helping the narrative along, and, really doing everything he can do outside of winning football games to put, brands like Texas Tech in a strong position. But ultimately, it's going to come down to those teams not calling a cover zero blitz on the goal line.
But I go back to Bedlam. This is.
But okay, everything Jake there said was right. There's only so much Brett Yormark can do. He can set everybody up, but everybody else has got to go. You got to recruit. You got to develop players. You got to get this thing on a winning side of things. Absolutely. Every program's got a shot. Every program in the Big 12's got a shot. And that by itself, the parity, what I keep talking about, because that does not exist in the SEC. That does not exist in the Big 10. But in the Big 12, it could be anybody's year, any given year. Iowa State can win this thing next year. Texas Tech can win this thing. Utah can win this thing. Kansas State, TCU could turn it around real quick. UCF could turn it to a monster faster than you think. Colorado might just, everyone's doubting them, but they can start trucking. You never know.
That's why Bedlam matters. And again, I know that Oak State fans don't want to hear it. Do you understand what a loss the rivalry is for Oklahoma State?
Mm-hmm.
Think through this. Does Oklahoma really need Oak State on their schedule? Does OU really need Oak State on their schedule? They don't. Because they can replace them with any number of SEC opponents.
It's non-conference, dumbass. It'll be non-conference now. So no, they're not playing another SEC team instead of a non-conference game. But I understand what he's talking about. Is Bedlam important? Kind of. I wouldn't put it. It's. I don't want to be rude. I think. I don't think it's as big a deal as people let on. It's a big deal, but it's not the Red River. It's not the Holy War. Is it the backyard brawl? I mean, it's better than Farmageddon. It's bigger than Farmageddon. But when cooler heads prevail, let some time go by, Bedlam will be back. Ain't worried about Bedlam. It's not make or break for the Big 12 to have Bedlam.
So when your boy starts talking about how he doesn't care about Bedlam and doesn't want to talk about Bedlam, okay, who are you going to replace that with?
And every Oklahoma State fan was cheering that shit on because everyone's pissed at Oklahoma right now. People in Oklahoma are pissed at Oklahoma right now. That's supposed to be Big 12 country. All them folks, including Sooner fans, grew up with that being Big 12 country. A lot of that doesn't get talked about. There's Sooner fans in Oklahoma they're not happy with Oklahoma going to the SEC. Now, that's their school. They're going to support them, but they don't like it. There is a contingency of people that don't like it. Not all, but quite a few.
If you want to talk about a team that's critical to the success of this conference, Mr. Mullet might want to start winning a lot more games of leverage. Oh, yeah, but let's take one of the most important games of leverage off your schedule. And it's again why I continue to tell you, if Mike Gundy, and his seat's never probably even going to be tepid.
Right.
Nope.
But if Mike Gundy doesn't start winning, this conference will be worse for it. And if Oklahoma State is not a national championship contender, this conference will never see its highest, best opportunity to make money and grow as a brand.
So get your facts.
Oklahoma State This is not dependent on one school. Okay. Let's say UCF over the next 4 years becomes a contender, a championship level contender. I'm not saying they will, but they got a very high ceiling there in Orlando. Let's say they get to that level. Not to mention TCU's already been on that level. They can get back there. They recruit very well. I believe in the coach. Utah could be on that level. Now they have a problem beating Big Ten schools in bowl games. They have a big problem with that. But they can definitely get to those heights. It's not dependent on Oklahoma State doing it. I think they're going to have an outstanding year next year. We'll see what happens. But no, this conference isn't about one team doing it. They all got a shot at doing it. So that kind of screws that point. He's using this old world, old head, old way of doing business in college football, the way it always has been done. That's what he's looking at. You need one team to become something bigger than what they are. No. You need all these teams. All these teams have a shot to be good, be damn good, to be a championship contender. But every year it could be a different team. You know, that's my point. It's not all about Oklahoma State.
Those are the realities of the situation.
No, it's
I
not.
think that's what the challenge for the Big 12 is that you need someone, you need one of what I would call the heritage brands of the Big 12 to step forward. Whether it is Oak State or Texas Tech or whoever it's going to be, like you need one of them to step forward. I mean, you can see how healthy the conference was when TCU made that run a couple years ago, and that's the
Well, Texas and OU were still in the conference, so we can't make a declaration like that.
You need the bottom half of this conference. Again, Waco, I'm talking to you. Why did you not fire Dave Aranda?
Yeah,
There's something else I would agree with them on. You don't have time for this mediocre, embarrassing horseshit going on in Waco with Dave Aranda. All right, I know they're trying to be loyal. They're not trying to put out money for a payout because you fired a coach early. I get all the business side of it. But right now, before revenue sharing is a thing, you can afford a payout to a coach to move them on who's underperforming. And last year was embarrassing as hell for Baylor. That is too good of a program, too good of fans. They recruit too well to be that freaking shitty. So I wholeheartedly agree with Monty on this.
Again, I continue to hear this thing that the Big Ten and the SEC are just going to go play on their own. They're not. They're not. I continue to say that. I don't believe that they were ever planning on doing that, no matter what Greg Sankey says.
But he talks about Super League. Well, I will agree with that. I don't think they were ever planning on that either. That was just an empty, hollow threat. So I just want to put that out there. Again, I agree with Monty on a little something.
We can sit here and say, well, the Big 12 didn't get money. No, the truth is their money in the Big 12 went to the SEC and the Big 10.
No. The Pac-12 money went to the SEC and the Big Ten. That's why the Pac-12 couldn't get paid again. Because remember, this used to be the Power Five. And all of these conferences, I mean, some made a little more than others, but it wasn't a huge amount. This is why the Big Ten tried to get UNC for years, but UNC said no. Virginia said no. The SEC tried to get, UNC and Virginia, and they said no. Because they could afford to. Because it wasn't a whole lot more money going from the ACC to the SEC. Or from the ACC. You see what I'm saying? Just changing conferences. It didn't make a lot of sense back then. That's why it was kind of shocking when Colorado left the Big 12. Or when Nebraska left. Or when Missouri left. Or A&M. It took drama. It took Texas drama to do it. Drama from Austin to do it. Because there was no... They were thinking maybe a little more money, maybe some prestige or something like that. But really, it took some animus for those teams to move on.
Whether it is the Big 12 or the ACC, neither of them had representation deep into the postseason. And that's the problem. And I don't know how you overcome that on the football field. I know how you overcome it on the basketball court, and that's through, NIL and recruiting, right? Go out and get players. In basketball, you can do that. It can be a year in and year out thing. Like, it's pretty straightforward what you need to do. But in football, it's totally different. Your head coach has to be dynamic. It has to be a leader, and kids got to want to play for him because...
Well, you don't need a good basketball coach. I mean, Coach Self is just... Like, you don't need him? No, you still need NIL. You still need recruiting in basketball, too. It's the same formula. You need a good coach. You need good players. You need to be able to bring in good players through the transfer portal with NIL, too. It's the same thing with both sports.
Brett Yormark needs to have the balls to say, hey, what are we doing at Baylor? What are we doing with Baylor? Because if you're not, and I'm told they are, by the way, but if you're not sitting around in your conference meetings saying, hey, Baylor, you need to win more football games. Hey, Texas Tech. Hey, TCU, that was cool 2 years ago, but what the fuck was that last year?
100%.
Right? Like, you need to be having real conversations about...
What's Brett Yormark going to tell them? Hey, you need to win more games? Well, no shit. It's not like Baylor's not trying to win games. They're too loyal to their coach right now. And that's biting them in the ass. Yet no shit, TCU doesn't need to fall off like that after going to the national title game. No shit. But what's Brett Yormark supposed to do? That's not his job to go in there and lay down the law in Waco or Fort Worth. That's ridiculous.
And I think BYU is a really good example of this. You've got to hold BYU to a higher bar. Hey, you're in the conference now. That's cool. But now you actually have to support and prop up the conference.
Yeah, you got to pay your rent, bro.
Right? They
got to prop up the conference. They just got there. And they damn near made a bowl game last year. I mean, we all knew it was going to be a hard year the first year of the Big 12. For BYU. That none of that makes any sense. None of that he just said made any sense.
Hey, Texas Tech. Maybe you don't call a zero blitz in Laramie. Like, you need...
Hold on. So, you want Brett Yormark to go to Texas Tech and tell Joey McGuire what plays to call or to not call? He's a commissioner. He doesn't do that shit. It's not his job. They had it right from the beginning. He's there to set a pathway so they can have success. Then he gets out of the way. He's not talking play calls. He's not calling up, the AD of Waco. Hey, you need to win more games. It's understood. Everyone's trying to win more games. Not everyone's going to. It is football. You're going to have winners and losers. You're going to have the top of the conference and the bottom of the conference and some teams in the middle. That's the natural state of things. Regardless of who it is, you need the top teams to get into the playoffs and do some work. That's what you need if you're the Big 12.
But I'm telling you right now, this season, there's going to be two things at play. There's going to be a couple of teams that overachieve and do their job more than people think. And then there's going to be the group of teams that way underachieves. And I don't know which team that's going to be that's surprised, but I'm telling you, Brett Yormark is going to come down on them and say, hey, like, what is this? Like, how do we got to get better here.
You got to have
Brett Yormark is going to call up these ADs and say, hey, you got to win more games, buddy. You got to win more. No, he's not. He's not. They may have conversations, but not like that. That's not going to happen from the conference commissioner's office.
At some point, you got to find 4 teams that can make the college football playoff
with regularity.
And I mean, obvious for me anyway. I'm always going to tell you Utah.
You got 16 teams that can make the playoff. That can win this conference. You got 16 of them. Every year. I'm telling you right now. I might make a video going through it of who has a legit shot. Right now, I would say in this conference of 16 teams, I would say easily, I'm just going to guess here. I would say easily 8 to 10 teams out of 16 teams have a legit chance of winning this conference, or at least getting to the conference title game. That's huge. So what is he talking about?
I would like to think that would be Oak State. I'd like to think that'd be Oak State.
Why does it have to be Oklahoma State? And yes, they're one of them that do have a legit shot of winning, or at least getting to the conference title game. I mean, you got Oklahoma State that's got a shot. You got Kansas, Kansas State, Utah. Those 4 have a shot. I still believe Arizona has a shot. Texas Tech has... Did I say Texas Tech? I don't think I did. Texas Tech has a shot. Iowa State has a shot. So that's 7. Can we peel off one more? Can I say TCU with a pretty nice looking quarterback? Can I say they have a shot? Maybe an underdog kind of role, but do they have a shot? Do they have a coach with experience? Yes, they do. Do they have a team that has played for a national title? Still have some players on the team that played for that? Yeah. I'll say 8. Baylor, you can't include Baylor, unfortunately. Cincinnati, no. Houston, no. Arizona State, no. West Virginia, there you go. There's 9. There's 9 right there. West Virginia. West Virginia's got a shot to win this conference. They're going to be really good next year. UCF is my dark horse next year. They're our super dark horse. There's a dark horse and there's super dark horse. They're a super dark horse. That's 10 teams right there. I'm telling you right now that have somewhat of a shot, somewhat to a very realistic shot of getting to or winning this conference. Getting to this conference championship game or straight up winning it.
Even if the tournament does get expanded, you have to have football to go with the tournament. And I agree. The tournament should be expanded. Or, we should start having that conversation.
Yeah, I don't love
that. But yeah, I don't love it either. But the reality is, like,
Well, he was loving it earlier. I don't love it. You were saying it's the great thing that Brett Yormark was. What the fuck? This is the crap I'm talking about with Monty. Just earlier in the damn video. I don't love it. Well, you loved it just 20 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. Now you don't love it. Shock. And see, that's the crap when it comes to Monty. I mean, he makes some good, valid points. Is next year important? Yeah, it's important. So is 2025 season. So is the 2026 season. The next several years are very important for the Big 12. It's not just about 1 year. And no, Brett Yormark isn't going to kick down the locker room door, come in, and erase the chalkboard and write a new play. That ain't happening either. All right, he's not going to call up the AD at Waco, hey, what the hell are you doing? That's not his job. He's not going to overstep his bounds. He's a professional. Let's be realistic here. You create if you're the commissioner, you create an environment inducing for winning. He's doing as much as he can with that. Everyone else knows how important it is to try to put winners on the field, and that's what they're trying to do. And there's a lot of damn good ADs, a lot of good presidents, and a lot of good head coaches in the Big 12. I still think next year is going to be incredibly fun. The next several years in the Big 12, the power of parity will make itself known. That's what I say. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap. I don't recommend you watching Monty. But if you do, God bless you. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching this crap. Bye.